The content provided in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.
Is it my story, your story, his story, her story, Jane's story, Joe's story? Is it just an allegory? Show's about to start and we still don't have a name for it. Bop, 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 bop. It's a long story.
Aging and cystic fibrosis are words you don't always hear in the same sentence, but on this podcast, you'll hear them all the time, with relevant discussions and unexpected explorations wherever this podcast might take us.
So many people with CF are living longer thanks to modulators and medical advances. We thought it was time to get into some real conversations with expert guests and people from all walks of CF about what living longer with CF means, the good and the not so good.
I'm Dr. Ahmet Uluer.
And I'm Lauren Harvey.
I'm a medicine and pediatric trained pulmonologist and director of an adult CF center at a Harvard-affiliated hospital right here in Boston.
And I've had CF all my life and was recently diagnosed with CF-related diabetes. I am committed to creating a supportive space for those with CF and their loved ones.
I will bring the medical expertise and provider perspective.
I bring the real-life CF experience.
And together we bring you It's a Lung Story, a monthly podcast about aging with cystic fibrosis, where we take a little time to tell a lung story.
It's a long story.
Hey guys, and welcome back to part 2 of CF Parenting Stories, 3 Voices, 3 Perspectives. If you haven't heard part 1 yet, we recommend going back to catch it first. These stories build on each other, and you won't want to miss a word. Today, the conversation picks up where we left off, digging into the messy but rewarding business of raising kids while managing your own CF. From guilt and identity to support systems and what our kids see, this half is honest, thoughtful, and beautiful. We're so glad you're listening. Enjoy the show.
It's a long story.
So, Lauren, you had a question from the audience. Andrea, do you want to set that up?
Yeah, we're doing a new segment called Live Listener Call-In, except we're not live and they're followers, and it's a social media question. So Lauren has that question.
And it's from @JanieB0101. And she asked, how do you balance providing your kids with a normal childhood while also facing very real, hard, and sometimes traumatic health issues?
I think it's difficult, but despite having said earlier, you've got to be selfish, I do prioritize normality for the kids. So if I go into hospital, any plans that we have already made will still happen, even if it means they don't come to see me. If there's any birthday parties, any sporting events, any school events, those take priority. And there's not a lot that I'm very healthy outside of exacerbation, so there's not a lot that I can't do with them. I can still walk a lot and exercise. So I do sports with them and try and keep that as normal as possible. And I'm really firm. Their school is fantastic. And when I'm in hospital and they're having bad days, they still prioritize education for them. And their schooling is only going to happen once. And no matter what happens to me, that's their one start in life. So that to me is the most important thing. And everything, whatever John and I have to do to make it happen, we keep the normality for them because that's key.
Mike, how was that with you when the kids were younger?
It was not that difficult. You know, kids understand stuff. So if you talk to them and you tell them what's going up, down, or whatever, you make accommodations. But, you know, we both covered for each other where during sicknesses, it would just be like anything normal, so to speak. I don't think it was any worse than necessarily anybody else. But yeah, life goes on, and so the healthy parent would you to just do whatever. But sometimes my wife was out, down and out, and I would take over. So there were a lot of days like that. When the kids first came home, we had one home out of the NICU in 3 weeks, and the other one was there 6 months. I couldn't wait to go back to work on Mondays, and I don't really love work, but work was a relief. Home was rough in the early years, but if you're open and honest with your kids understand they're resilient. Honestly, kids are very, very resilient.
I would just say, again, I'm pretty healthy. I'm not in and out of the hospital. So there's not really a lot of conversation about that. The only thing I'll say is like around fatigue, and this has definitely gotten easier as the kids have gotten older. I'll say when they were 1 to maybe even as old as 3, no, probably like 1 to 2, it was very hard to prioritize my needs around rest and sleep. But as I've gotten older, it's become easier to be like, hey, mommy's just going to go lay down for a little bit. Because they entertain themselves better now. They play together independently. And, like my husband's there. But I think a lot of it, anything that's part of CF, it kind of just gets integrated into your daily life. Like so it's normal to them that mom sleeps a lot. And it kind of just makes me think of being a kid with CF growing up and being sick and having 2 siblings with CF, like all the stuff that we did that was, the treatments and the hospitalizations and the home IVs and all the things. I mean, like you were saying, Mike, like kids are resilient and adaptable. And so it just became part of our normal. And it's not something that we really thought made us different. It was just our normal.
Well, I want to say you guys seem so well adjusted. It's crazy to your individual circumstances, but this was a popular request for a podcast. And we did hear from people who were saying that, they hated that they couldn't play with their kids at the end of the day. They were jealous of their spouses because they could. The impact on the mental health of missing birthdays and events because they were sick or needed rest. They weren't specific about like where they were in their health journey, modulators, not modulators. So my follow-up is, that said, you're doing everything so that they have this normal childhood, but did that impact your mental health, or were you ever like, I really wish I was at that birthday party and this is really unfair, that kind of stuff?
I will say, so like being the oldest of 3 kids growing up with CF, I very much took on so my sister's 2 years younger than me and my brother's 10 years younger than me. So especially with my brother, we joked that like I was like a second mom to him. Growing up and into young adulthood, they were both a lot sicker than me. That was kind of the story that I told myself and believed. And so I think I always had a lot of guilt with them too, like for being healthier than them, or, I perceived that I was healthier than them. And so at the risk of sounding like a martyr, like I feel like I took on some self-sacrificial qualities and kind of just had the mentality of I need to push through this because I need to be an example. They need my help. My parents need my help. And I need to be okay. It's that like, I don't want to add burden to the load. Like I don't want, did I say that right?
Yeah.
I don't want to add to their like mental, emotional, physical load. So I need to be okay. So I think that's carried into me as a parent. I'm hard on myself and I'm working on that. I've been working on that for a long time, but I have some perfectionistic tendencies. And, like I was saying with the pneumonia, like I told myself, like, you're fine. Like you're overblowing this, like just push through. You got it. Toughen up. And so that's been something where I think if anything, I'm not like resentful of my partner or my kids. I'm just like, I just take it out on myself. and get frustrated with myself and think like, come on, you can do this. Like, do you really need a nap? You're being self-indulgent. And that's been something that's been like a communication challenge with my husband and I, because I think maybe because I've operated that way, it's set that expectation for him too. They're like, mom's fine. She's fine. And so it's been a process of me trying to like find my voice and advocate for myself, even to my husband, and be like, actually, I'm not fine. I really need to miss this birthday party. I'm so tired. I need to sleep, and you need to take them yourself. And that comes with a lot of guilt and shame. And it sucks from the perspective of like, I feel like I'm not being the best parent. Like, I'm choosing to be, quote, lazy. This is like my inner dialogue. There were some times where when I was more tired than usual, there would be an event, like say a birthday party coming up, and my kids would be like, Mommy, are you coming too? And that like made me feel so bad, because I was like, am I really not going that often that they don't expect me to go because I'm like bowing out so often? And so, then that it's not their fault, but then I'm like, okay, I need to try harder, because I don't want that to be the, what they remember is that mom never went to stuff with us. She always chose to stay home instead. So I think that's been something that's been hard.
Well,
That inner dialogue, which, it's like, I'm sure that your kids, like your perception of that was very different than what they were asking you, but that inner dialogue is really tough, and you're so tough on yourself that way. Understand it, but, hopefully that's something that we're all working on, but you're also
I'm in
working on as
therapy,
well.
don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. Damn it. You're a great
Abby,
mom.
you seemed like you wanted to
Yeah.
also
It is.
answer.
It is very difficult. There are two standout ones for me. I missed my son's actual birthday because I was too poorly to go home. And so they came to the hospital, and he had his cake, and he was only 7, and he was really sad because he had this 7th birthday cake, and obviously we couldn't put candles on it because you can't put candles in a hospital, and I was on oxygen. So the next year I got sick at the same time, and even though I was quite poorly, my hospital, all the CF team were like, no, delay it until after the birthday, because I couldn't do it to him again. It wouldn't have been fair. But yeah, the guilt is really strong, and I've missed my daughter's actual birthday party, and they chose to cancel the birthday party rather than have it without me, which for, at the time, 6-year-olds is quite a big thing to do. And then we didn't know how to rebook it, because what if I got sick again because it was in my bad year? And so they didn't have a birthday party that year at all. And the guilt from that was awful. So I do understand it, but you have to just think, well, do you know what? I'm doing my best. And I think there is another side to it, in that the children are resilient, and I think it makes them kinder in some ways. They know that if their friend at school has fallen over or something, everyone gets better in a different way. And I do think it has had a knock-on effect in making them kind. That's what I tell myself anyway, because otherwise the guilt is just too much.
It's important, I think, to let our listeners know that it is happening. It's important, obviously, in every circumstance to try and find, like, what can move you forward, the silver lining, whatever you want to call it. But guilt, shame, and all that, you guys have exposed yourselves, and I just want to say a lot of people are going to appreciate that. So, thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, like, things that are difficult to talk about here and with us. And I just had a follow-up for Morgan, as the oldest sister, and just how you describe your relationships with your siblings. How did they look at being parents? You said that you always set, the bar. I mean, do you try to make it look easy and good because you don't want to impact their decision of becoming parents? What is their impression of being a parent? Do they want to become parents?
Yeah.
What do you think your impact is going to be on them?
So it's interesting because my sister is a parent. She's 31, and she has an almost 9-year-old and a 3-year-old, and her 9-year-old was an Orkambi baby. So and my sister, so That made her, 21 when she had her, or 22? Math is not my strong suit. So she had a kid first, which kind of shook things up as far as like, the expectation of like, oh, the oldest kid will have kids first. So I watched her do it first. And she was, I'm not going to tell her story for her, but she was very sick when her daughter was young. So that was hard to watch. But I think I watched her do it first and kind of learned from her. And then my kids were born, and then her second daughter was born the next year. And so now I think we have this really beautiful relationship where our kids love playing together. We don't live close. We live like 4 hours apart, but when we get together, it's really fun being moms together and like talking about how we're doing and challenges that come up with the kids and like asking each other's advice. She's in school right now to get her master's degree in like social work. She wants to be a school counselor. And so we have lots of conversations about mental health and parenting and like mental health in relation to our kids and like, that kind of stuff. So it's very, we see each other, I think, on this, like as partners and like on the same level now, which I think has been good for me because it took me out of that sort of like pseudo parent role. And then my brother is 23. He was born in 2001. He's going to be 24, right?
24.
And
You're
yeah.
going to get shit
Thank you.
later.
Yeah, I need my.
I was born in 2000, so I was sitting here like, don't say anything, don't say anything.
Yes,
But
you
his
know
birthday,
exactly.
His birthday might be in the fall, though.
It is.
No.
It's October. But he's not a parent yet, so we don't have like that aspect of our relationship.
And Michael and Abby, I mean, do you have siblings? I mean, obviously they don't have CF, or at least you didn't mention that. But what is your relationship with your siblings and their children? And I don't know if you can reflect on that as well.
I have 2 brothers, and my relationship is good with my nephews and nieces. But due to my having CF and the baby that we brought home, the early years, we did not have a ton of family events that we went to. My daughter was extraordinarily sick, so the least amount of germs would have taken her over the top. As life progressed and we got back to like normal, which would be we always find out who has a cold and then we just basically don't go. And a lot of that was for my daughter in the early years, but it was also I benefited from that. But the older I get, the more things I will miss due to hearing whatever buzz may be out there or whatever. And similar to Morgan, I once I think the first time I met you, Ahmet, was on a inpatient stay where I didn't listen to my body for about a month. It kept telling myself I was okay, till you find the point it's not okay to be not okay. So you got to go fix it. But my brothers and I don't talk about mental health.
That tracks.
Yeah. But we do talk about family, but we don't get into the nitty gritty. I talk a lot about it with my wife. And, there's a drug that starts with the name Z, but I probably should have been on that like 10 years ago, but at least never too late. A couple years ago, I went on some drugs and it has improved me. I have 2 brothers that do not have CF, and they're both older. And I think my parents really blocked out a large part of the bad side of CF, even though they dealt with my CF and gave me extra PT when needed and whatnot. But they really focused on health and just like, oh, you'll be around. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about that. But we also blocked out like a lot of people along the way that may have gone by the wayside. And so we just don't get into that. But
They did the best they could, I'm sure.
They did the best they could, but I can tell you this, Morgan, they never would have had multiples. Had I been the first one, my mom was like, she couldn't take more. That was it. I was the last, so they were done after that.
Thank you for sharing that, Mike. Abby?
I'm the middle of 3, but none of my brothers have CF. I was actually diagnosed at 4.5, so my younger brother had already been born when I was diagnosed. Neither of them got CF, and I got married quite young. I got married at 19, and John and I had 5 years before we had children. And then my brothers both got married after I'd already had my children. And so their children are all sort of 2 or 3. And that's a good relationship. But as a child, my CF was nothing. I didn't have my first IVs till I was 22. My parents were brilliant in that they did my physio every single day, twice a day. And I did all my pills and I exercised a lot, but I didn't even nebulize. There was just nothing. So my relationship with my brothers around CF is very challenging because we never talked about it because it was never a thing. I just went to the hospital whilst they were at school to have clinic. I didn't go into hospital other than 1 or 2 operations. But then my younger brother did his PhD in medical physics in MRI, and his study was inhaling gas to picture the lungs of CF patients in MRI. And after he'd been on the course 6 weeks, he called me up and was like, I didn't know. I didn't know anything about CF. And he lived in the house. And it wasn't a secret, but it also wasn't a thing that we talked about. And then when I wrote a book and my older brother read it before I published it, because I thought, oh gosh, I best give him a heads up. And he also was like, yeah, I didn't know anything about any of this. And, you know, they've never seen me in hospital off of Instagram because we don't live close. I would rather see them healthy and have time with them rather than them travel across the country to see me in hospital for like an hour. So our family dynamic is unintentionally odd. And their children, you know, there's no CF anywhere.
Wow, you guys really compartmentalized. We are nearing sort of the end here. And I was going to just say, is there anything that you wanted to just make sure our audience, your community, understands about being a parent, being, you know, having CF as you're getting older? Like, is there anything that you'd like to make sure that you say before we move on?
I think I would say the thing that I was counseled about when I said I wanted a baby was that the pregnancy would not be a problem. It would be the parenting. And that has been my experience. My pregnancy was smooth both times, even with twins. But the parenting has been the exhausting bit, and the hormonal differences in my body having had the children, you know, the changes to my liver, the changes, I lost a gallbladder, all of that. That's post-pregnancy problems, whereas actual pregnancy was fine. When I wanted to have a baby, I thought the pregnancy was going to be the really difficult bit, and then all of the bit afterwards would be fine. And I think the after bit is, you know, the rest of your life and the rest of the children's life, and that's the hard part. It's well worth it, but it isn't the pregnancy that's the problem, in my experience.
We're going to do an IVF podcast because we feel like there are people out there with stories. So thank you for that insight.
I was just going to say, I mean, that is definitely, people are going to wonder what your experiences were there. And so we're purposefully not hitting that because that's going to be a huge topic. But I did want to just say that, you know, as a provider, you know, we do worry about pregnancy and the physiologic changes and the impact on your lungs directly. But our realization has been, especially recently post-modulator, that we're trying to get those pregnant women into the clinic to make sure we're monitoring them. And they're like, no, I don't need to come in. And they're not. So they don't need to come in because they're just doing so well. And not everyone gets to have that experience, but I'm glad that your pregnancies went well. And Morgan, I don't know if there's something you were about to say.
I think I'll just elaborate a little bit on something Mike mentioned about like having kids after you have one diagnosis. So for my family, I am double delta 508, but I wasn't diagnosed until I was 7, and my sister was 5. We were diagnosed together. And then my parents did decide a year or 2 later to have another baby. And, you know, they were like, I guess we'll roll the dice. The odds are in our favor, and we got another CFer. I know we talked about like the viral video about like my changing prognosis after Trikafta, and like there were some mean comments on there like, why would you ever have kids knowing that you're going to pass along those genes, blah, blah, blah. And there's just a lot of people just don't know. So there's a lot of ignorance around like the process and like how CF is. It's a genetic disease, but it's recessive.
But you feel like you need to
Oh.
explain this to the people who
Strangers
send
on the
these
internet.
negative. Yeah.
Not
it's
really.
horrible.
I mean,
Yeah.
not really. I basically just told him like that's an ignorant comment. Like, do your research. Everybody, I think, has a different approach to this. Like, everybody's different, and what they would do versus what they wouldn't do. So my parents were willing to, potentially have another kid with CF. I knew for myself, my husband and I didn't want to have a CF baby. We got his genetic testing done years ago, just as something to stick in our back pocket, knowledge, to have, which of course there's always a chance that like a mutation is missed or something. But we felt pretty good about the fact that he wasn't a carrier. And so we moved forward, at least knowing that there wasn't much of a chance, like there's a slim chance that a mutation could be missed or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how that works, but we felt pretty good that if we were to have kids, either if it was going to happen accidentally or whatever, or if we were going to be intentional about it, that we wouldn't have a kid with CF. And we knew that, so our kids are carriers, but they don't have symptoms. So anyway, it's just a personal decision whether or not that's something that you're willing to continue dealing with, or if you want to go another route for having kids or not have kids.
I think that conversation is going to shift pretty quickly underneath our feet as the outlook for your kids, if you have them with CF, like it's so much better. I know that I talked to a lot of people when I was childbearing age, but not really childbearing. I know a lot of people who struggled with CF were like, no way. Do I A, want to give this to somebody, or B, would I be able to deal with it? So I think personally, it's just it was, a really tough disease. I don't know. It's still tough for a lot of people.
I just want to say what I don't want this podcast to end without me saying. Thank you to my wife for being my support, and both of my kids for being understanding. And Lauren, you're in a whole different spot. I highly endorse marriage and I highly endorse kids, but I'm not the child bearer. And that's, pregnancy's interesting. But as you can see, people get through it.
Yeah, I hope we didn't discourage anything.
No, I mean, I feel like you just shared your real experiences for people to make an informed decision, and people with CF should be making the decisions for themselves without anyone, thinking otherwise. So I feel like you guys have given a great education for the people listening on what it's going to take to be a parent, just like for anybody else. And I was going to just say one more thing is that, Mike, I mean, do you want to share a dad's perspective? Anything you want to add? Like, I think you just did, but I was going to just say, like, as a father with CF here, anything for those dads out there?
As a guy, sometimes it's people just don't understand. And this is going to sound maybe sexist, but as a guy, sometimes you feel a bit of guilt when you don't go to an event because, people think, oh, what's the big deal? You just put your pants on, put your belt on, and go out like a man, that kind of thing. And quite honestly, I don't really indulge in big, what I consider flu fests, super spreader events, etc. I mean, I try to minimize risk as best as possible. I think there was one time I was wearing a mask on a plane years before COVID. It was like 2 years, and this guy at the airport came up to me and he's like, "What are you doing with a mask? Why you wear a mask?" And I'm like, because I'm getting on a plane and I don't know anybody's medical situation. And then I think COVID came 2 years later. I'm hoping it stuck in his head and he thought, oh my God, geez, never thought of that. But like sometimes you feel a little bit of guilt as a man, like not going to stuff, but you have to prioritize what you can do and what you should do, and try to keep yourself as healthy as humanly possible. But yeah, it's just different. And then I think, as there was a George Clooney movie. I cannot remember which one, but he said, I'm backup parent. But every time my wife goes down, I'm actually primary parent. So, it's, but I'm supposed to be backup parent. But you're always a co-parent.
Co-equal parents.
Yeah. Co-parents, yeah.
I just want to say a plug for masks. Being immunocompromised, wear them with pride, wear them to an event. One-way masking has proven to work for me. It has allowed me to re-enter life. I'm shameless about wearing them. It's your problem if you come up to me in an airport and ask me why I'm wearing it, because you're going to get a teaching lesson. Anyway, so it's time, I believe, for our ending segment, which is called What Does That Have to Do with Anything? You've shared a lot of deep stuff, and now we want to do like something a little lighthearted. So we're going to do 2 truths and a lie, and guessing which one's the lie.
Mike, you go first then.
Okay. First thing, as a kid, we were taking a White House tour, and I developed a nosebleed and bled all over a chair in the White House. And to be honest with you, it was so embarrassing, we didn't tell anybody there.
So that one's the truth.
Yeah.
Then there's a second one, is I once ran the Falmouth Road Race in 2003 and won the Denmark Award for determination and courage. Denmark was a CF patient who had passed years and years ago. His family asked if I intended to run Falmouth again because it's so much fun. And I said yes, but I have not returned to date. I ran, 2003. You could do the math. All right. Number 3 is one time in high school, I caddied for Bill Clinton on Nantucket.
I'm kind of thinking the last one's a lie because you elaborated on the first 2, but not the last one. So I think the last one is a lie.
Is it a double bluff? I think the first one's a lie.
I do agree with Abby.
Oh, really?
Michael's too
then
smart.
I'm just terrible at this. Oh, no.
What? Okay, so is everybody supposed to guess?
No, you tell us. You tell
You
us.
tell us now.
Oh, yeah, she's right. Number 3.
What? I was going to.
That's a lie. And, as I made it up, I was thinking, this doesn't even make any sense because Bill Clinton didn't come
I was
into
gonna
the
do the math
presidency.
on that.
Yeah, he's from Arkansas. He didn't come into the presidency until the 90s. And that's when he started going to Nantucket.
See, I'm too young to realize that. I saw the embarrassment when you were talking about the first one pop back up into your brain, and I'm like, that one has to be the truth. So
Using context
it was a 50-50
clues.
shot.
All right, Abby.
Okay, so I can drive, but I've never owned a car. I once met the Queen, and I run the London Marathon twice.
Wow. You know what? I did not look this up to see because I want to say that you ran the London Marathon twice. I mean, why would you say twice, not once? And I feel like you may have met the Queen, but I feel like you've owned a car. I totally messed this up, and I'm just going to go with my gut and say you've owned a car.
Is that what? As in, that's my lie?
That's your lie, yeah.
No, that's true. I don't own a car. I've never owned a car, but I can drive.
So what's the lie?
So the lie is I've never met the Queen, sadly. Missed my opportunity.
R.I.P.
All right, but you've ran the London Marathon twice.
Twice.
I was kind of hoping that was the truth. That's
true.
amazing. What year did you do that?
2013 and 2021. There was a considerable difference in health. 2013, I was thwarted by a small episode of Dios, but managed it. But 2021 was rough.
Okay.
The week before I was running it, I started to go in exacerbation. Managed to get through the marathon and had to go to urgent clinic, like 2 days later. And I got the best ever clinic letter after. I started IVs and it was a mess. But my consultant had to write this clinic letter going, she's had hemoptysis, she's got fevers, her sputum's purulent, But she managed the London Marathon. So, yeah, it was.
That's
And-
impressive.
do it.
Awesome.
And
Don't
you
do
had
it.
children. And you had children while training
well-
for the London Marathon.
They didn't come and watch, but depressingly, when I came back, my daughter, who at the time was, I can't remember, said, "Oh, did you win?" And I said, "No." And then they weren't interested from that moment. No, they don't care. I had my medal,
That's
but
when you
no.
just
You're
tell
like-
them yes.
I
You're like,
should
"Come
have
back here,
said
I
Yes,
won."
they'll never know.
So I'm just going to throw in a plug before we move on, is that we had 10 people with CF run the Boston Marathon in 2021. And there's a documentary that hasn't been released yet about that. But it was about sending that message that anything is possible with 10 people running it at the same time. And I'm just so impressed because I was so impressed with those 10 people. And I'm just it's incredible that you did that while being a parent as well. So that's why I'm glad we brought that up.
To be fair, we just had COVID, so the time of my own to run it and practice was needed. Lockdowns had been hard.
Very cool. Okay, Morgan.
Okay.
You're
I
up.
tried to keep all of these like consistent in terms of level of detail, so hopefully I can trick somebody. Are you guessing for me, Andrea?
I am.
Okay. I tried to change my name to Nicole in 4th grade. Is anyone familiar with the Dream Factory? It's like Make-A-Wish, but it was like the Kansas City version. So probably not.
I was guessing it was like your Make-A-Wish.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
Make-A-Wish. So for my Dream Factory dream, I got to meet Christina Aguilera and record a song with her. Sorry, that's so ridiculous. I just gave it up. When I die, I want to be buried in a simple wooden casket in a natural burial ground.
Okay, well, despite your 98% giving it away, I 100% believe that you tried to change your name because you're a perfectionist and what I know of you. I also tried to change the pronunciation of my name in kindergarten, so I can relate. So the Christina Aguilera thing, I almost was going to say, well, I could see you may be the right age for Christina Aguilera, but there's no way she'd record a song with you. That's too much time because I actually was a wish granter for Make-A-Wish for like 9 years.
Yeah.
And I
expensive.
had to pull together some famous people wishes. And then I believe because of the whole chickens thing and the simple wooden casket, and I'm kind of on the same wavelength there. So I'm going to go with the Dream Factory.
Yep. That was an idea. So I was in like 5th grade, I think, when I did my dream. And that was my first choice. And I probably did say that, and they probably were like, that's not going to happen. But that was my first choice.
What did you actually end up
I ended up
doing?
going to Mall of America and having a shopping spree, which was really cool, with my mom.
That sounds amazing.
And then, yeah,
I love
it was
that.
nice.
Like,
They gave us $2,000. I don't know why I remember, or $2,600, which at the time, like that was a lot of money for. I mean, it's still a lot of money for a kid to blow at the mall. Somehow I did it quickly, but yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you, guys. I'm going to play the song again just so that you guys have it fresh in your mind. But what we would like you to do is sing that It's a Long Story, just like Lauren killed it earlier. Well,
Do it
but
better than me,
literally-
please.
Actually did
she
kill
literally,
it.
she literally killed it. Hold on. So you're going to do the end part.
After it's done.
All right, Mike, do it.
It's a long story.
Abby?
That was so good.
It's
was
a
good.
long story.
Wow, that was
British.
really sweet.
Yeah.
Morgan?
It's a long story.
See, I told you they should have done
I
it,
love
not
it.
me.
Yeah, they should have done
Thank
it.
you.
You're right,
Thank you
Lauren.
very much.
Thank you to all of you. This was really wonderful, and just really appreciate all the incredible personal stories that you shared. It may have been tough to share, but it's gonna mean so much to the people listening, and it was so meaningful for us as well.
Hey, Mike, does anyone
Oh,
ever
that's
tell you
great.
you look like Woody Harrelson?
I've had Woody Harrelson, and then way long ago in college, it used to be Christopher Penn, Sean Penn's brother. But that's when I had hair.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got Uma Thurman in my 20s, but nobody's talking about that. All right. So here we go. Ready? Until next time.
Get a little older.
Live a little bolder.
We are working hard to provide meaningful information to a deserving CF community, information you won't find anywhere else. If you'd like to help us grow, we'd greatly appreciate it if you would follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, so you never miss an episode. Want to go all in? Leave us a rating and a review. It helps people find us and makes a big difference. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with a friend, family member, caregiver, or provider who might also want to hear it. This helps you, it helps them, and it helps us spread the word to those who need to hear it most. It's a Long Story is produced by me, Andrea Gavin Becker, and is hosted by Dr. Ahmet Uluer and Lauren Harvey. Additional editing and production support is provided by the team at Resonate Recordings. Until next time,
Get a little older.
Live a little bolder.